Welcome to another episode of the Trailer Island podcast. I'm Alex and I'm joined by
Matthew. Steve.
We compare films and their trailers. Did the film deliver what the trailer promised? And, you know, after Nobody, I was excited to go into the shed and start, doing karate and stuff. Into this, I was just like, yeah.
I was ready to start doing heroin.
I felt physically ill.
Heroin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why that specifically?
Because I was haunted by those ghosts.
Okay.
And I really need an escape.
Fair enough, Steve.
And that's our review of this movie.
Yeah, all right, we're done.
No, we're going to get stuck into it. Don't you worry about that. We need to provide our audience with content, Steve.
We certainly do. It's a shame that Simon McQuad doesn't feel the same way.
Just a man that can't be impressed unless it's some sort of indie film.
I really like the A-Team movie.
I haven't actually seen that.
It's a really good movie.
I know Liam Neeson's in it.
It's really good.
All right, cool. We're not talking about that movie this week, though, are we?
Distract ourselves with other movies just to get out of talking about this one. Because I think I feel differently about you guys about this. I have a lot of good things to say.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's odd how often you're wrong.
That's not
Is it odd?
fair.
No, we should. We need a focus. We need a.
Yeah.
Yes, because there's lots of things to get through. Because, you know what? I think it's not a bad movie.
Okay.
You should introduce the movie then.
Do you think I should introduce
I
the film?
think you should.
Okay.
I'm not
This
going
week-
to.
I'm likely to start talking about the A-Team movie again.
This week, we're doing Mortal Kombat.
First learned about this 7 years ago. On a mission in Brazil to capture a wanted fugitive. When we got there, it tore through our unit in seconds. The target had superhuman abilities. It had the same marking you do, Cole.
It's a birthmark.
What do you mean?
He was born with it.
It's not a birthmark, Cole. It means you've been chosen.
Throughout history, different cultures all over the world reference a great tournament of champions. That dragon marking? I think it's an invitation to fight for something known. As Mortal Kombat.
These are your champions.
I'm Sonia. That's Kano.
I'm Liu Kang.
Name's Jax.
Kung Lao.
Lord Raiden, the fate of Earth is in our hands.
No matter how many of my people you put in the ground, we will not fail. Kill them.
I will admit that is actually quite a good trailer.
No.
Yeah, what is
no,
trailer?
no.
It is a good trailer.
Steve, I've got goosebumps currently.
Yeah, but that does not advertise the movie correctly at all.
Well, hold on. Let me get to my point.
Oh, here we go.
Let me get to my point.
Finish him.
Is that trailer? I see that, and I want to see that movie. But when I did see the movie,
Makes a lot of false promises.
I would suggest yes, it does. Yes, that trailer's a lot cooler and a lot. Strangely enough, that trailer has more focus, I think. It's a very focused trailer for a very unfocused movie, perhaps.
I'll pay that.
Yeah. And we're just getting to the top of the start of this.
I want to disagree with that, and I will in a second, but we should probably go over what the premise is.
Yeah, we probably should. Yeah, no, you're right.
So, so there's a new guy in town, and he has a little, like a dragon birthmark of sorts, and what does he do?
It's like that birthmark is like a special pass into a club of fighters.
And they all represent Earth.
Yes.
And they're trying to keep away some evil from the outer world or something like that.
This other dimension, I think.
Otherworld, I think.
It's just an other world, yeah. And they needed to defend Earth from these nasty people.
They needed to do it in a competition. But Otherworld is currently trying to kill off all the other fighters in Earth realm, so that they don't have to fight in the competition.
They just win by default.
They win by default. Oh, this is
then they sort of spend the whole movie trying to prevent the Mortal Kombat competition from happening.
Yeah, what happens when the Mortal Kombat actually needs to happen? Because it technically doesn't happen.
No,
in this movie.
Actually, we never actually see that tournament, do we?
No, we don't.
No.
And is it fair to suggest that the trailer may promise that we do see some of the actual, like a bit of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire stuff?
I would say that the title of the film suggests that we're meant to be seeing this thing.
Yeah. Let's be honest. This is definitely meant to be the first of many films. This is definitely setting up potential
they're
sequels.
setting up. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's why, for better or worse, we never actually get to the Mortal Kombat tournament. Technically, we don't actually get to the official tournament in this. That's a spoiler, by the way, everyone. Sorry about that. I've just realised that this movie's literally just come out, and I wasn't even thinking of spoilers. But sorry about that, everyone. Sorry, everyone.
It was spoiled when it came out.
No, it wasn't, Steve. It was. I enjoyed it.
Let's talk about the good stuff. Yeah, okay.
For example, we talked about Nobody just a moment ago, and when we talked about that in our review, I sort of got a little bit iffy about the story. And then, Matt, you said, don't worry about the story. Just enjoy the action.
Yeah.
Now, that's how I felt about this, because I couldn't make sense of the story, so I didn't worry about it.
and I will admit, I went into this movie not expecting a great story. And I didn't want a great story. I just wanted to go in and see some really good fights.
Yeah.
My issue is this movie... I think the movie understands that people don't expect a story, and that's fine. That's the kind of movie it is. But at the same time, I don't think the fights are strong enough or consistent enough to justify a very weak plot. Whereas Nobody is so strong that, like we were saying, we don't really care. Well, that's kind of the point. Just don't worry about it. But this film, whilst that's the correct mindset to have, the fights weren't enough to distract me from its shortfalls in that area, and as a result, I found myself getting increasingly frustrated. Like even just little things, like there's a bit where the character uses his car as a stepping stone to jump over a fence. When he parks this car, he leaves the keys in the ignition and the lights on. And I'm like, in what world would you not stop but someone's going to come and steal your car. You've left the lights on and you just left it running. And it was stuff like that stuff that you shouldn't care about in a movie like this. But because I wasn't getting distracted by cool fights often enough, I found myself getting annoyed by, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, there's a lot going on in this. I felt like they probably tried to cram a bit too much in there, would you say?
Unfortunately, yes. And this leads me to my probably biggest complaint about, and my biggest point I wanted to bring up about this movie. Again, Nobody is a great comparison to have. We know who our main character is, and we're on side with him. This movie, my question to you guys is, who's the protagonist?
Yeah.
Like, who's the main character? Because I don't think the film knows who it wants.
Spend a lot of time following whatever a protagonist's name is, which strike one right there. But they also spend a lot of time following Sonia Blade as well.
Yeah, and then Josh Lawson has half an hour dedicated to him just trying to be funny.
He was very, very charming for about 10 minutes, and then all of that Aussie slang really, really got to me.
Really? I enjoyed it. I thought it was all quite funny and just good fun. This story definitely follows Hanzo, the kid, the guy.
Well, it's meant to, but I feel like halfway through the movie, he gets a bit lost in the film, and
they introduce a lot of characters.
Cole?
Is it Cole? Is it?
Oh, Hanzo is the Japanese guy from the Prologue.
And that's another point. The Japanese guy in the Prologue, I think this film, I mean, I understand that they want to, this is based on a video game franchise. I understand that. It's not like they've made a movie out of the Silmarillion or anything. So you've got a young, attractive cast because that's just kind of what this movie is. Part of me does kind of wonder what it would have been like if they'd, instead of going for the kind of youth adult look for the cast, they'd gone with an aged, like experienced martial arts actors and that kind, and just done it seriously. So that prologue is so good in the forest. And that guy, I think he could have been the main character.
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yes, he should have.
Fantastic actor.
Well, that opening scene is just cool.
No, it is. I love the shot. And again, I feel like they started out with a bit of style, which was nice. Like, the shot of it's in the trailer as well, the inside the house, and the sword comes through and it goes up and the blood splatter. That's great.
Yeah.
That's terrific. I wish that kind of style, that kind of creativity had been sustained in this movie. And going back to Josh Lawson, I actually think he was very funny in this, but until I figured out all of his jokes just revolve around him using the F word.
Yeah.
In all of his punchlines have the F word in. I was like, and I've just suddenly, like, after 10 minutes, it's like, okay, so they're just swearing to be funny. Like, it is funny until you realize that it's all the same joke.
Yeah.
Which is just him out of everyone else taking themselves really seriously, and he's just dropping F-bombs and being Australian. I was like, I'm getting tired of this
Probably
now.
the biggest laugh, though, that he got out of me was when Sonia's talking about not having... she doesn't have the mark yet, and he's off screen. You just hear this, ha-ha. and I thought that was just probably the funniest thing in the movie. I don't know why, it just tickled me right.
He definitely made me laugh, but I got frustrated with this, the cheap... Barry Humphries famously said, if you can't be funny without swearing, then don't, like in terms of stand-up comedy, then write better material. Like, you can't just swear to be funny, you've got to be clever about it.
On that note... We all know what Josh Lawson sounds like, all right? He sounds like an Australian. He doesn't sound like that. He's putting on the accent for an American film.
I do. You reckon?
It drives me nuts.
I do get annoyed when I see actual Australians in American films trying to sound Australian. It's like, you could just talk.
Just talk normally.
Americans clearly have this very inaccurate idea of what an Australian accent actually is. But
but how good is his fight when he's with Kung Lao? Is it with Kung Lao?
Which character was that?
When they're in the sandpit and he's fighting him?
Oh, yeah.
Is that with... I can't remember. Or is it with Lou? Oh, I can't remember which character it was with.
Oh, the hat.
One
of the hats.
and he keeps sweep kicking him.
Yeah, that was good.
He goes like, what is that the only move you have? And then he jumps up when he goes, and he's and he gets done again by it. I thought, and that's like an ode to playing the video games.
Yes.
When when you're playing against a mate who obviously knows what they're doing, and all you can do is like the same thing over and over again, because this is based on a video game.
Yeah,
this is what this film is.
And I want to make it clear that I understand the source material. Like I say, this isn't some kind of high piece of classic literature. I understand that this is a video game movie, and the video game is just it's a two-player game where you fight each other. I get that, and that's fine. And I think the film, I've never actually played the games, but I've spoken to a few people since seeing this movie who have, and they've also seen it, and they've said, look, the moves are from the game, and if you've played the game, they've really enjoyed seeing the moves that you used to do in the game in the film. So, I mean, that's probably really all the film needs to achieve. I mean, it's for the fans of the game.
That is the challenge that the filmmakers would have had, is finding that balance between making a good movie and having to stick to the history and the story that this... Like, it's a video game that's had to build the story over the decades that it's existed. So they've got a certain requirement to adhere to the things of the past that they can't. Maybe they needed to take more of a chance with the story and make something up with it. I mean, they're introducing a brand new character in Cole who doesn't exist in the video games.
Oh, a question about Cole. I mean, you do make an excellent point about that, but also in talking about character design, I've been told that the pre-existing characters have actually been done quite well in this. Again,
flawless.
Talking about the hat. But then with our new character, his costume, I thought was actually quite ludicrous, because I'm pretty sure it's meant to be metal, because swords hit it and there are sparks. But on the close-ups, you can clearly tell that is a rubber suit, because it bends when he moves his arms. I was like, that does not look like metal. Like, that is a poor costume.
That's your gripe? Not the person with 4 arms?
I like General Grievous.
Again, a character from the video games.
And I got that. I thought the guy with 4 arms was great. You guys
Literally 4 arms, like 1, 2, 3, 4, not 4 arms, which we all have.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
That's what Young say. You're looking at me weirdly. What did I say?
Well, what we do need to touch on is this film was made in our backyard.
Oh, God.
You know, when we weren't stuck, before we got stuck on the island, this film was made in Adelaide, South Australia, which we're all from, except for Matt. I'm not sure where Matt's from.
Neither am I.
There was bits where you could notice things around town. You're like, oh, that's cool. There was a shot. Oh, Steve, come on, play with me here.
I was like, oh, that's Torrens Island Power Station for some reason.
But isn't that fun?
No, because I've already seen that before.
Yeah, but now you're seeing it in a Hollywood film.
I will. Here's something I'll give it, all right? It doesn't look like it was shot as an Australian film.
Yes.
Okay, it does look like a Hollywood film.
It's like the opening thing in the forest is just a thing down the road in one of the forestries.
Yeah.
There's a shot in the trailer, which I was so disappointed wasn't in the film. There's a car chase in the trailer.
Yeah, I was...
Where they use the... people not from Adelaide won't understand, but there's a brand new underpass. We get so excited about infrastructure in South Australia.
God.
We have so little... We have so little here. Oh, the tram that can't turn right.
Oh my God, this is a Springbank intersection that's currently being revamped.
But no, I get your point, Alex. That shot in the trailer, I agree. I know that place, but it wasn't...
So that's under South Road. I know where that is.
But it's not in the movie.
Then I was really waiting for that scene and it never happened.
I think if I saw that scene, I'd be like, yeah, I've been held up in traffic on South Road before. It sucks.
I hate it when there are car chases down there. Yeah.
We're so sorry for our audience who's not from South Australia and you're having to deal with... I have got no idea where you're referencing. But there you go. I was excited about it. I thought it was really cool that this big budget, I think it was almost $100 million to make this thing, was made in our backyard, which just doesn't happen. Because I've travelled to the States and I've been in... I think I was in Philadelphia and I watched World War Z or World War Z. I don't know. I think it's Z in America, Z in Australia, whatever. And there's a huge scene where Philadelphia gets taken over or New York or whatever. And I was like, we're in that city right now. And it's an experience in an Australian audience that we don't get very often where these big budget films are made where we're from.
I would agree. Cheap.
Because it's cheap to do it here.
Yeah. They obviously didn't spring for a decent filming location or decent actors. They all put that budget into the CG.
Oh, cost. Steve. I had no problem with the acting in this. I think there was a problem with the story.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Alex. The acting's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, especially from I'm doing air quotes for anyone who can't see us, obviously, but lead actor is
Lewis Tan.
He has no personality in this movie.
Well, do you think that's his fault or it's potential directing?
No, I don't think it's his fault. I think they all had very little actual acting direction. I think all the direction was on how it looks. And again, it's a video game movie. I get that. So it's probably okay that that's the case. But I don't think much effort really went into directing the
I think it's both. I think Lewis Tan is just a wet fish.
I'm going to defend them. I reckon they all did a great job.
Okay.
I think any actor... can, if they get the right material, can be good. I don't know the guy, and I've never seen him in anything else. So I feel like because I think the script is so poor.
Yeah,
a bit like Hayden Christensen in the prequels. I mean, look what he had to work with. Hayden Christensen is not that terrible an actor.
He is pretty bad.
But when he has a monologue about sand, I mean, what are you going to do?
You're going to do the movie Jumper and then get forgotten forever.
Oh. Anyway, back to your point, Alex. I also appreciate that this was made in our backyard. I thought that was terrific. And like you say, it's an experience we usually don't get. It's great for jobs. It's great for the industry here. Part of me is a little concerned that they may have done that. Well, no, this was before COVID, wasn't it, that they shot here?
2019, yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
My fear is that this was just a fleet. Like, I love it to be a permanent thing, films getting made here. I can't see that happening.
It's like you said, this is about building a franchise.
Yeah.
And this is the cheapest way to do it.
Well, my biggest fear, and this is going to sound slightly controversial, I'm aware of that, but I do mean it, because I want South Australia to have an impact on this industry. I think that's great. I just wish we could have... If we are promoting this movie as a country. I think that's the buzz. Is this is an Australian film shot here for Hollywood. I wish we'd made a better film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this film actually is kind of representing us as a state, and this is our Hollywood film. Like Rising Sun Pictures did a great job of the CGI.
Well, then there's that question for you, because the CGI is fantastic.
I disagree with that.
Really? I thought it was flawless.
Who's the guy with 4 arms?
That guy.
Yeah, he looked terrible.
What?
Yep.
He was probably the weaker part, but I mean, all the eye stuff was cool.
Every scene in the underground cave with the big 2 statues, that looked pretty bad. That every time I saw a wide of that space, that setting, I was like, this is pretty.
Actually, I will now. I don't think that's a fault of the CGI. I just think it's a fault of what it was meant to look like initially. Because I will agree that there was a disjoint. Like you couldn't quite. The perspective wasn't quite right.
But I also think that might be because Simon McQuarrie is a first-time director,
Right.
so he may not. And this is no disrespect to him, but he may not understand how picky he needs to be with CGI shots. Like you can push that technology really, really hard and get the best out of it.
I must admit that I did get a bit confused about where we were and what we were doing at points in the film.
Yeah.
I was just sort of a bit lost. I was like, hang on, where are we and what are we doing?
Yeah. It's funnily enough, there were a few shots which reminded me of Doctor Who, funnily enough, because I watched a documentary about Doctor Who once, and the conventional wisdom at the time from the BBC was, we need an alien planet. We'll just go to a quarry in Wales somewhere. That'll do. That'll be our planet. And I kind of got that feeling from this movie. There is a sequence which is meant to be on another planet or another realm. It's like, that's just a quarry somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, I do not believe that is another planet.
Like, it's Cooper Petty. Here we go. Again. It's the film's called Mortal Kombat. I think the film is definitely about the fighting. Now, my dad, I saw this film with my dad. He loved it.
God.
It might have been the 2 ice creams that he had. I don't know.
Oh, he's buzzing.
he was buzzing off the sugar of those 2 ice creams. What do we think about the fights?
No, I didn't like him.
I went with Steve, which was in and of itself an experience, because just seeing him struggle with this movie was very entertaining. I was on board with the fights. Again, that first fight is fantastic. He's throwing his dagger around and doing all this cool stuff, and there's blood and gore. It's great. I love it. I felt like and Steve and I spoke about this when we came out of the session, is they ran out of cool ideas.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think for me, that is most evident where towards the end of the movie, there's a fight in a bathroom somewhere where the camera's so close. Like they clearly should have had a set where they could take a wall away so they could get a wider angle. You can't see anything because it's just like a mid shot of people waving their arms around, and that's it. It's like, what happened to that energy and creativity of that first fight scene? Where's that gone? Like it kind of evaporated a little bit.
I wanted to see a little bit more kung fu. I wanted a little bit of harken back to 60s kung fu. Get some really decent fighting coordinators in there.
But is that what the game is, though?
Oh, well, I mean, you spend half your time trying to beat someone down on that game, and fatalities really only count for the last bit of the actual fight.
Right.
I want to see some actual craft go into a fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that.
Yeah. You actually, I don't think at any point you really get just a shot of 2 people fighting each other.
No, you don't.
And
you might do, but I get your point, though.
But it's usually intercut with other fights that are going on. You're like, I want to focus. Okay, now I'm over here. Okay, now we're over here.
There is a very interesting montage where they're about... Again, this might be the film trying to do too much and introduce too many different characters, but there is a montage, I think, where there's about 4 or 5 fights happening all at once, and it intercuts between all of them. And I like I say, I've never played the game, but I do understand the principle of the game, and I was kind of waiting for that big showdown moment between characters. We kind of get one at the end, but it's, in my opinion, not particularly good.
No, it doesn't flow well. Because
there's no sense of gravitas on these fights. There's even though the film spends a lot of time going, there's a fight coming, it didn't feel epic.
You can't track what's going on. You'll get a good 15 seconds of this main fight, cut away to Lewis Tan's character doing something, and then cut back and you're completely in a different sort of, not an area of fight, but from what they had been doing, it's a completely different status quo to what it was before Louis Tan's character's actions. Yeah, it's a disjointed choreography.
I wonder if something's happened in the edit, because some things happen in the film and like it's like something's just happened, but we haven't seen what's happened.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, the downfall of this movie, for what it was trying to be, I think happened in the edit room. It could have been cut better, I think.
Personally, I don't think it was there on paper to begin with. And that's I say that with dead seriousness, but I absolutely agree when you say they ran out of ideas after the prologue. I think they came up with this really awesome prologue, and I want to say that prologue, fantastic, great little setup. It's got hints of violence, but it's not completely violent, and it alludes of what's coming next.
Yeah, like, believe it or not, for a movie like this, there's actually some subtlety to that prologue. Yeah. But again, that's my issue with the protagonist situation we're in, is that prologue does set up a really good emotional arc, the potential for a really good emotional arc, and the film just does not deliver on that. Like I said, he should have been, if we're going to have this prologue of this character who essentially, I guess, passes on his mantle in an indirect way, that's your driving, your through line there. But the film, sort of in the first 15 minutes, I was going, okay, cool, that's what the film's going to be. It's going to be this guy. It's an origin story, but it's going to be him learning these powers that he's got from his ancestor. And that sounds like a good movie, apart from the film kind of, I guess, gets bored of that notion and starts doing other stuff instead.
Yeah.
And then tries to come back to that at the end. It's like, no, you've moved on from that now. Like, that arc doesn't exist.
It's because Cole's character is very bland.
He is.
There's not much going on, and that's, again, we mentioned it earlier, we sort of get distracted with Sonia Blade, whose character is, by my opinion, a lot more interesting. It is, someone who loves fighting and is not given the opportunity to fight in the universe's biggest contest because she doesn't have the mark. She hasn't earned the mark yet.
That's a good point.
That's a way better character.
She probably is the only one that has an arc of some kind. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then when she gets
forgotten about.
She gets her magic armbands. And we actually never see that moment happen.
Yeah.
You see everyone at like I have earned this, whatever the thing's called.
The power.
The power. And then she gets, all of a sudden she turns up and she's got it. And we're like, so we didn't actually see that payoff.
And again, I'm doing air quotes for everyone playing at home, our main character, we see struggle to earn that. And then it does feel cheap that she just rocks up and goes, hey, I've got it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we just spent like an hour and a half with this guy that we don't really care about, having to suffer going, oh, is he there yet? Is he there yet? And you just turn up. It's like, come on now.
And imagine if Sonia Blade was the protagonist, like the one and only protagonist. I would find her story to be super interesting, like having to tag along with the chosen one without being a chosen one yourself, and sort of have to try and earn it yourself as opposed to being born with it. I think that's way better. Better facet to it.
I think you just made a better movie.
Sorry, Simon.
But no, you are right. That in terms of character arcs and in terms of having a protagonist, that would be much more interesting. That's something that as an audience member you can latch onto, you can identify with that. Look, talking of blandness, to bring up another point, let's talk about the soundtrack.
That composer turned up for one piece of music, which is the boss fight at the end. But for the rest of it, I think he he had to look at the rejects on the Matrix soundtrack and just use those, I think.
This film desperately needed John Williams.
I don't know what you do with the soundtrack with this. Like, obviously,
you do something with it, unlike what this composer has done,
well,
which is nothing.
The Mortal Kombat theme is iconic, and we get it. We get it in like tidbits in the last track, and I was like, okay, here we go, and it's like, oh, it's over. Oh.
Yeah, again, not playing the game, I still know the theme, and so I was kind of like you, going like, come on, let's kick this up a bit, or kick into gear rather. And like, it's not like this is an unlicensed film. Like, use the music.
Yeah.
It's a bit like having a James Bond theme that doesn't use the James Bond theme. A movie that doesn't use the James Bond theme. It's like, why? You own it. Like, absolutely go for it.
I'll never forget Nerd Writer's video on the Fellowship of the Rings score. Who did that again?
Howard Shore. And how he brings together all these character motifs. All right, and you get the really great Khazad-dûm bit there where everything comes together, and it's the wonderful triumphant horns, and you get the actual Lord of the Rings theme.
you've got like 4 or 5 characters here. Do a leitmotif for each of them and bring it together at the end. Why the hell not?
And that's the thing, is I think the movie would have... Like, that's the so I'm a huge fan of music. I think we all are, and soundtracks can make or break a movie. And I think, unfortunately, for the pacing of this, the first half hour, instead of actually any, shall we say, actual music, they've just gone for this kind, like drones, a bit of a Hans Zimmerish kind of thing, which is fine, provided you actually, put some melody in there or some themes. You can't just have a consistent drone that, rises towards the end of a scene to make it dramatic, and then it just does it again. It's like, that's boring. You need to do something with it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I mean, the soundtrack for Dunkirk, which is Hans Zimmer, there's a lot of just, drones in that because it's meant to build suspense. But if you listen to that soundtrack, there's a lot going on in terms of melody and theme. Like it teaches you the theme and then runs with it, and so it sets you up going, okay, I can hear this theme, but I can't see why it started yet. So something's going to happen.
Yep.
This movie just has drones and just hopes that the audience will latch onto that, thinking that the characters are getting tense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's not that easy. You've got to work at it. You've got to earn it.
Well, I think we need to wrap things up. And out of 5, what are we?
Hats?
Spinning hat blades?
I do like the
Spinning hat blades, yeah.
That was
Spinning
pretty
hat
good.
blades? Cool smoke VFX?
Egg rolls?
Scripts devoid of creativity.
We've already done Crossy scripts.
You guys are so mean.
Don't get me wrong. I wasn't hugely excited to go and see this. I think that much was obvious to you two, and we were leading up to this. But I was like, no, it's a new film. It's made in South Australia. That's terrific. I tried my best to like this, and I don't want to sound like I'm being negative, and I know that I've been very pessimistic this episode, but like I said, if this is going to represent South Australia's efforts in the Hollywood game, I really wish we'd made a better movie. Anyway.
Well, there's been quite a few made in the last couple of years, so maybe we need to get through those as well.
I'd like to.
So anyway, out of 5...
Hat blades. I think
Hat blades?
Hat blades is
Hat
fine,
blades.
yeah.
All right. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay. Fire up, Steve.
Let me go. It is a half.
Oh.
It is a half. This script is terrible. It is acted terribly. The music is very, very awful. The fight scenes are boring, dull, and less than surprising. There's no shocker horror. This is a studio film. All right, this is something that has been created to create a franchise, and it stinks of it. Okay, it's not subtle in what it's doing. It's not even a good bad film. It is a bad film that I would expect to buy at a Caltex.
Okay.
I don't want to see it ever again.
Caltex is a fuel station, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah. If you want to watch an Adelaide film, go watch Escape from Pretoria or Hotel Mumbai, because they're probably actually better.
Is Hotel Mumbai shot here?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we should do that. Look, I'll follow on from that if I may, because I feel like you might be a little more positive, Alex, in your review. I like you, Steve. I never want to see this again. However, I was thinking about this quite seriously because I thought, how harsh am I going to be on this movie? Like, I can't just try and be funny by being overly harsh on it. I was thinking about the Taylor Swift documentary and how furious that made me, and I was like, this film didn't make me as angry as the Taylor Swift documentary. So I was like, you know what? To be fair, there are good bits in it, and for a movie that is based on a video game where you pick a fighter with a certain set of abilities and then you just spam buttons and just fight each other. How picky can you really be? As a film, awful. No characters, terrible. Like everything Steve said, I agree with. But it's you're there for the fights. The fights don't really live up 100% of the time. But that prologue was cool. I like the potential for more. I would probably give a sequel a good chance. I'd go and see one in the hopes that they would tighten it up a little bit. I'm going to give this a 1.5.
Can I just I want to asterisk something, because I feel like we need to be. Video game movies have gotten a hugely bad rap in the last 20 years, and probably rightly so. But I think we're at a point now where there's sort of trying to be an ascension there. I mean, Tomb Raider was fantastic.
Yeah, no, we agree on this. The Tomb Raider, the newest one, was very good.
Assassin's Creed wasn't as bad as everyone made it out to be.
Yeah.
But this doesn't Mortal Kombat doesn't help that at all.
No.
Well, I went with the idea and knowing that probably I wasn't going for the story and the feels, and I was incredibly impressed by the CGI and the fight sequences and stuff. And yes, they're a bit disjointed, and I agree with all of your points. That's fine. But
Are you sharpening your knife, Steve?
No, it's already dead.
But I enjoyed it as just a sit down, watch, and just let it just be. So I'm going to go with 3.5.
Okay.
If that's okay.
No, I
with you
think
guys.
that's more than fair. I just want to again put out there. I do agree with you. Like very much like Nobody, you're not there for the story, and I accept that. That doesn't mean you can't make any effort to write one.
Yeah.
Like you do need to put some effort in. I will absolutely give you a free pass if it's thin, but this one is almost non-existent.
This is just literally a proof of concept for Legend. No, it's Warner Brothers, isn't it?
Yes, I saw
I
there.
thought it was Universal, wasn't it? Oh,
No, it's both.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, look, the theme music.
The theme music.
I think Alex is trying to stop Steve and I from going on any longer.
They couldn't come fast enough.
As always, I just want to say as well, please go and seat yourself and form your own opinion. I mean, always do that.
Okay. Well, that was what did they end up being? 5.5 out of 15. That stings. Really stings. Anyway, so we've been the Trailer Island podcast, and Matt and Steve's opinions are entirely their own and not representative of the Trailer Island podcast. No, I guess you're allowed to have your opinion. That's fine. So you can contact us via the Facebook page. Tell us if we're right or we're wrong. You can send us an email, contact@trailerisland.com.au. Visit the website as well. There's heaps of other episodes to look at, and enjoy those.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy Mortal Kombat? Let us know. Did we get it wrong? Did we get it right? Was I right as always? Who knows? I don't know.
Would you like to come to a Mortal Kombat watch party with us?
I'm going to go and see the sequel to this.
I'd see the sequel. Yeah, I would go.
No. No, I'm not dragging myself to Caltex to buy the sequel.
Which is a petrol station, just a reference. We've been the Trailer Island We've been the Trailer Island podcast. I'm Alex. I've been joined by
Matthew.
Sub-Zero for some reason.
Good night.
Finish him.
This is a Narrative Network podcast.